Okay, we're recording. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see some faces. So I have some things I'd like to explore together today. And first, before we get to that, sort of, I think, a prerequisite to, in some sense, to what I'd like to explore together is that we have, I think this is true. We'll find out. I think it's a prerequisite that we have some clarity. And I don't necessarily mean we have to have whatever you think ultimate clarity is. Forget about that for a moment. Just going to mute everybody so we don't hear those clicking sounds. And but that we have clarity on we'll say that presently we have no problems. Okay, so for just a moment, this is going to be a little cliche, but let's close our eyes. Okay, unless you're driving. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. Okay, or if it's uncomfortable for you, then you don't have to close your eyes. But let's close our eyes just because it can be helpful sometimes not to have the visual stimulus, because we have so many associations with the visual. Those of us who are sighted, at least, we have a lot of conditioned associations with the visual that so rapidly are telling us about what all of this is and where we are in space and what our relationship is spatially. And so it creates all of these objects very rapidly. And that's not a problem, but it's just sometimes easier if we can temporarily filter that out. And let's just notice that right now, what's happening. So we have thoughts, perhaps. But those thoughts come and go, right? Those thoughts change. Not only that, but if you try to grasp a thought, go ahead and try and hold one. See if you can do that. And inevitably you cannot. And I'll be interested after this exploration if somebody says they can, we can explore that. But I'm saying you cannot. Most likely your own experience will validate that. And then maybe we have sensations. If we're alive, probably have sensations. And we can notice that those sensations come and go. Same sensations have not always been here. So then we can try to grasp hold of a sensation, see if we can do that. And again, I'll be curious to hear if you say you can, but I'm going to say you can't. I don't believe that it's possible to grasp a sensation. So you've got thoughts and sensations, kind of it. I don't know that there's a whole lot else going on. We could invent other things. We could create other categories out of that. We could say that sound is a separate phenomenon, separate from sensation. I'd say it's not really. But if we wanted to, we could say sound. We've got sound happening. We can do the same with that to see if you can grasp a sound. Of course, you can't. So what is here that is a problem? Is there any problem here? And I'll be curious in a moment to hear from you if you can say that there is a problem, and that's fine if you say there is. But before we get to that, just really take a look and see what would be the problem. What is that? If you say there's a problem, what is it? How do you know that there's a problem? So we see that there are thoughts that come and go, sensations that come and go. We can invent other categories of experience, but we can see that those come and go. So if there is a problem, what on earth is that problem? What is it made out of? And can you, if you're going to invent this other category of experience that we're going to call a problem, what can you do with it? Can you do anything with it? Can you grasp it? And I would say that even if you invent this thing called a problem, you can't grasp it because it's like everything else in your experience. It's ungraspable because it's impermanent, because it's not even a thing. So my intention with this is that hopefully we can have some clarity on the nature of problems. So is there actually a problem? And if we look presently, perhaps we don't actually find that there's a problem. And so if you have had your eyes closed, then you may open your eyes and see, just before we leap into anything else, just also explore to see what changes now with eyes open. So really, what's actually different? Seems different, but just take a moment to notice, because the mind is saying there's something different. Maybe, maybe not. But if it says, if it seems like there's something different, then you can also explore that. What exactly is that? Are we sure that there's actually something fundamentally different? I mean, obviously there's something apparently different. I'm not denying that. We open our eyes and all of a sudden there's the appearance of shape and movement and color and whatever. But fundamentally, can we just see that what's happening is really kind of the same? This experience happening. And out of our conditioning, we invent various categories of experience. And we typically operate on this level of conditioned reactivity. So we're just reacting to the reaction, reacting to the reaction, reacting to the reaction, reacting to the reaction, just on and on and on. This is, I suppose, why in the Vedic tradition they talk about karma, because if we're operating at that level, then seemingly that's all that's going on, is there's just reaction, 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 reaction. Every reaction is just causing another reaction, chain reaction. So then if we view a reaction as a karma, then every karma is creating more karma. Every reaction is creating more reaction. But only at that level. That's the good news. But we have this capacity to see that. We have this capacity to recognize what's going on. We can actually recognize that this experience is occurring. So if we were it, we wouldn't have that capacity. If we were just another reaction, We wouldn't have that capacity because, as we've already seen, the reactions are what? They're substanceless. They're coming and going. They just are happening, but they don't, there's nothing even there. So if you were just another reaction, there would be nothing there. So how could you possibly be aware then? So you are aware. And I'm proposing that as this awareness, it's evident that there's no problem, but then we leap back into the conditioned reactive mind and it says, yeah, but there is a problem. There has to be. This whole existence is about problems, which are all, it's all reaction based. It's well, look, all of these reactions, and these reactions are a problem, so I've got to do something. What are you gonna do? React. So then it's like a line of dominoes that just the next one, what's it gonna do? It can't do anything other than just knock over the next one. So I want to explore a couple of things, as I said, but that was the prerequisite, was I wanted to explore to hopefully all have clarity on that. So before we proceed, and with the caveat that this is being recorded and will go up on YouTube, so if you speak, you'll be in the recording. But if you have the courage, and if you are not clear on this and would like to have greater clarity about it, and you imagine that us exploring it together might offer you that, then this would be a great time to speak. So just want to leave a little space for that in case that is unclear to anybody. And if you do want to speak, you can just unmute yourself. And I know sometimes people are shy, so we'll give a minute, and then nobody speaks, I'll continue.
Joey, I was aware of unpleasant sensations when my eyes were closed.
Yeah.
And my feeling was that I would have preferred that they were not there.
Yeah.
And when I opened my eyes, they were still there, and I still wanted them to go away.
Yeah.
So my question is, how am I creating this continuity?
Yeah, great. Well, this is exactly what I want to explore next. Without going into too much detail, let me just ask you this. So, yes, of course, there are certain experiences that we have conditioned reactions to that we would say, I have a preference that this doesn't happen. But what I'm wanting to know, just as a baseline, is how do you know that, so you just used the word, I think, unpleasant. So how do you know that it's unpleasant?
I'm not sure that I do. I suppose because I feel tension in my body, a resistance against what is there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, I've lost your question. You want to know?
Well, how do you know how do you know that it's unpleasant?
I'm not sure that I do.
Right. And it's just to be clear, it's fine to have preferences, and it's fine to have the belief that something is unpleasant. But so I'm not suggesting anybody needs to change anything, although I will suggest momentarily that we might find it more pleasant if we took a look at some of these things. But all I'm wanting to see is just what you're seeing, which is that we don't actually know. How do I know that this is unpleasant? Well, I don't know. The only way I can know that it's unpleasant is by turning to, we call it a thought, belief, conditioning, that tells me that that's what it is.
Yes, I think I have to agree.
Right. So this is very interesting. To me, it's very interesting. I mean, to me, this is very, very interesting. And I'll share why it's presently exceptionally interesting to me. But before I do that, do you have any other questions or anything that you want to clarify about that?
No, this is spot on. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Joey?
Yes.
Tony here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to answer the question about how do you know?
Yeah.
You know, because, well, obviously you have to go to thought to know. But what about if your body is just writhing in pain?
Yeah, well.
And you can't, I mean, you're just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You can't hardly breathe.
I know. Well, you tell me, okay? Because I know this is sometimes your experience.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that you've, well, I'm not sure, but I believe that you've looked at this a fair amount.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are times when so I've used the word faith at times. And when I use the word faith, I think what I'm talking about, or one way to describe what I'm talking about, is it's a knowing beyond the conditioned mind that that I don't know a better way to put it, so I'll just say that life is fundamentally good. So sometimes what happens is, this is my experience at least, we'll call it the intensity of our experience exceeds our level of faith.
Okay.
Okay. I've had this happen. You've had this happen. So yeah, we can beat ourselves up about that, but that doesn't help us. So, but you know, for example, there were a couple I've had, and knock on wood, won't happen again, but I had 3 times I had kidney stones. So I'm familiar with pain that causes writhing. Okay. I mean, it was, I'm grateful that I'm not experiencing that presently. Okay. So in those moments, the intensity of the experience was greater than my faith. Okay. But so if we take the extreme scenarios in which our faith is not great enough to presently to meet the experience as it is, then I don't think that's useful for us. What I think is more useful is when we're below the threshold of intensity, so that so our faith is great enough. Now, it's not usually that interesting, actually, if we have our faith is here and the intensity is down here, okay? Because then easy peasy, we don't even look. Who cares? Yeah. Yeah. It's much more interesting when it's here, or right there. That's where it's much more interesting, because then life is really presenting us with this rich opportunity to discover what really is going on. So rather than take the extremes let's just bring it more to the middle ground. And so we can just explore here at the middle ground where we have, and by the way, I do intend to talk about this a little bit more and explore this in just a moment. So I'm not punting on this entirely, but I just want to get clear on this, on the question that you're asking. So if it's more here, you understand what I'm saying? If the faith and the intensity, then this to me is much more interesting, because then I can look and I can see all of these. Well, okay, you're asking the question that kind of unpacks it all. This is kind of what I want to talk about. Okay, so then I get to see how when it's more like this, so the intensity is lower and my faith is here, what happens a lot of the time is I'm experiencing some things that I'm conditioned to believe are unpleasant, painful. I don't like them. I want to get rid of them. I need to change them. I don't want to see them. And because they're kind of down here, I can get away with that. So I'm just basically shoving them under the rug. When it's more like this, then I don't have that same capacity to shove it all under the rug. So it's all right here. And I view this as a tremendous gift, because then it's the perfect opportunity for me to actually, that intensity transforms into faith. So how does that happen? Through this direct inquiry, then I get to see all of my conditioning. So this is all the conditioning that I've tried not to see, because I was able to say, oh, it's just a little bit of pain. I can take a aspirin for that. When the pain grows and the aspirin doesn't do anything, then all of a sudden it's like, well, what am I going to do? I don't have these strategies any longer. So now all I can do is just be present to the experience. And so then if I'm open, and so I think this is where having somebody point it out can be a tremendous shortcut, because then we don't have to just sort of stumble along. We can have some guidance. So somebody points it out, and when we're in this moment where the intensity is testing our faith, so to speak, then we can remember, okay, what did somebody point out to me? I'm finally willing to take a look. Before I didn't want to look because I felt like I could sweep it under the rug. Now, okay, I'm willing to look. Okay, so now I'm willing to look. And what I'm suggesting is this offers us this possibility, this very rich possibility of just seeing the conditioning. So then we can see it for what it is. Because otherwise, there's this other mode. It's, let's say, our habitual mode of our nervous system, of our way of being in the world, which is, I'm just going to see who's, I think it's Jay. No, Jay left. I don't know. Anyway, somebody. Anyway, this habitual mode is I don't know what to call it other than largely it's unconscious. It's automatic. It's just, we're just reacting because we have these programs that are good enough. They work good enough. And so we just operate on those programs because, hey, they're good enough. But then when we're in this situation, all of a sudden programs aren't good enough. So now what am I going to do? So then what I'm proposing is when this situation happens, then I can just see my conditioning. When I see my conditioning, I'm switching modes. So the normal mode is just reactive, programmed, good enough, getting along. In this situation here, I'm choosing to switch modes because I'm recognizing that those programs are not working, not sufficient. So I want something different. So I'm switching modes. When I'm switching modes, I'm present. I'm just absolutely present to what's happening. And when I'm present, everything slows down. Or another way of saying it is I can slow everything down. Now, when I slow everything down, and I don't mean I'm making everybody move in slow motion. I mean, just in my own experience, inwardly. So noticing all the reactivity and then slowing it down, and I can see the program. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is what's happening. Okay. So let's say pain. Okay. So the reason this is interesting to me presently, I'll say, is for the last 4 or 5 days, has it been that long? 3, 4 days. I've been experiencing some discomfort, physical discomfort. Okay, in this area, and sufficient discomfort that it tests my faith. And so I've been exploring this. This has been very present for me. I've been exploring this. And so I can recognize as I switch modes, I can recognize the conditioning. So the conditioning in this case is, it's sort of like I can be kind of like a detective. Okay, so I'm following, in a sense, following the trail backward. So I start out at the surface level is just discomfort, reactivity. Ooh, what am I going to do? I gotta do something, get rid of it, fix it. What am I going to do? Okay, that's not working. So then slow it down and then just sort of trace it back a little bit. And I recognize, oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. I'm afraid. So there's fear. Slow it down even more. All this stuff gets unpacked. All of this conditioning, all of these stories, all of these memories, all of these beliefs, all of this stuff. It was all right here. Okay. So there's a lot I want to say about this. Before I move on from that, I'm curious, was that helpful in addressing the question that you had?
That was very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love, because I have been exploring that too. So it's fascinating.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So I'll continue, and then if you have further questions, then you can ask. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So so this funny game that we can sometimes play, especially when we're in this situation where our faith is high and the intensity is relatively low, is we can play this game because we have the luxury of it, of I want, how do I put this? I want some kind, in this situation, I can think, I'm going to go for this really lofty thing. I want the very best thing. So I have in my mind this idea that the very best thing is spiritual enlightenment, or perfect non-dual spiritual enlightenment. Okay, this is what a lot of people think. So when we're in this situation, we have the luxury of saying, yeah, I'm going for this. And then we can be very, we can play these games where we say, oh yeah, that's not it. And oh, that's not, oh yeah, those people are way wrong and stupid. Those people don't know what they're talking about at all. Oh, and that thing, that's not it. I'm going for this thing up here. So then I'm just sort of looking for what's the one thing, and I sometimes joke, then people land on, it's Nisargadatta. Nisargadatta is sort of the pinnacle of the most pure non-dual spiritual enlightenment. And then even that's not good enough, right? Because then we say, yeah, I don't know about, I don't know about Nisargadatta even, if he wasn't quite pure enough. So we have this luxury of doing that. And the irony of this is that we say we want non-dual spiritual enlightenment, non-dual. What are we doing? We're dividing, saying there's one thing over here that's it, and then everything else is not it. And I'm this separate thing that's going to get to that. So we're playing this game. Now, as the intensity ratchets up closer to the level of faith or beyond, then all that goes out the window. You know, when I was writhing in pain from the kidney stones, I say from the kidney stones, when I was writhing in pain and had kidney stones, it's a more accurate way of putting it. All that stuff didn't matter at all. I said, just give me a heating pad. Just, you know, just make the pain stop. Just make the pain subside. I will do anything. So all of that game just goes out the window. Blessedly. So where am I going with this? Is that there are a lot of things that to me, in my, let's say, more lucid moments, are very clearly all one. Very clearly, they are all, how do I say this? Conspiring to share the same revelation. And these are the things that interest me. These are things that I'm very interested in, and things that I talk about and share. So no big surprise here. You know, somatics is one of those. The work of the mind-body work of Dr. John Sarno and others. Direct inquiry. Various. I'll include in that hypnosis. Okay, so these, I'm sure I could come up with other things, but these are all things that are of interest to me. And we can play games that say, oh, you know, hypnosis, please. That's not a spiritually elevated thing. Nisargadatta would not approve. But I'm telling you, they all are, everything in life, everything that you are attracted to, and everything that is attracted to you, okay, is offering, I'm certain of this, is offering, it is all conspiring for the same revelation. The same revelation. It is all conspiring to offer you the revelation of your perfection presently. So I've been experiencing what my mind says is this pain, discomfort, intensity here in my face. And as I slow it down, I see, as I say, all of this stuff unpacking. So without this is why I say everything conspires to offer this revelation, because without all of these expressions of the divine coming through all these different forms to offer this support, I would not have the same capacity to have this, to be able to just see what's happening. What do I mean by that? So I think that Dr. John Sarno, for those of you who don't know Sarno's work, it's well worth checking out. I won't do him a disservice by trying to just give it to you in a nutshell. Well, I probably will, but you should definitely check it out. It's very good. But without Dr. John Sarno's work, I wouldn't have the same level of clarity and the same level of faith, okay, to be able to So let's say Sarno's work, as I embody that work, that transforms and increases my faith. So that then, so if the intensity is here, and if my faith was here, it'd be hard. But with the support of Sarno, my faith is it's here, okay? Borderline, but enough. So then I can recognize. See, it's all these things are pointers so that we can recognize. So Sarno's work is a pointer to recognize this conditioning. So the conditioning that we have, maybe it's universal to all humans, maybe it's unique to the culture, I don't know. But certainly in this culture, it's a very, very common thing, very common, that we have this conditioning, which is at all costs, don't have that feeling. Don't have anger. Don't have sadness. Don't have fear at all costs. So then what do? And this is where Sarno's work is so powerful and validates this, by the way, because Sarno worked at NYU. He was a professor at NYU Medical School, and he was a doctor, an MD at NYU Rusk Center for 50 years. Saw, I don't even know how many patients. I mean, I think he was seeing 4 to 5 patients a day, probably 5, 6 days a week for 50 years. It's a lot of people. And the cure rate for people who went to Sarno and who were diagnosed with what he called TMS is astounding. Just astounding. It's like 80%. Whereas and these are people with chronic debilitating pain. So, and who have all of the evidence that the medical establishment says this is the reason for your pain. Okay, so these are not just people who are just taking an Advil. Okay, these are people who serious debilitating pain, and 80% cure rate, which is unheard of in any other form of therapy, and not just short term, but long term. 80% cure. And through information, just explain to them, you're suppressing your emotions. That's what this is. So that knowledge is very, very powerful. And so that's very powerful for anybody. It doesn't matter how enlightened a person is. It's very powerful. Because what it offers is that when we're experiencing, when we're in pain, okay, you can just test this out. When you're in pain, you're experiencing fear. And we say the pain is causing the fear. But can we be sure of that? Okay. So if we slow it down sufficiently, do we know for sure that the pain is caused, that the fear is caused by the pain, or the pain is caused by the fear, or maybe they just arise together? But we can just for sure anybody who's experiencing pain can just observe that they're experiencing fear. Okay, so I started to notice, okay, I'm experiencing this pain. I slow it down. Wow, okay, I'm afraid. So that right there is enormous, to recognize that I'm afraid. And then the other thing that I think is brilliant about, many things that are brilliant about Sarno, but because he has such a track record, and because he's not, he's not an internet marketer selling energy healing. He's an establishment doctor who's just telling people, I've been in this business a long time. I've looked at all of the MRIs that people bring, and I can tell you for certain that there's nothing here on your MRI. I don't care what anybody else says. I've looked at a lot of MRIs. There's nothing on your MRI that indicates that your pain is due to a structural abnormality. Your pain is caused by suppressed emotion. Now, to be an important point, he didn't say that to everybody. He said that to everybody where he knew that was true, which was most people. So, but that's very powerful, because then if we can receive that, and if we really receive that, it does something that transforms into faith. So then in my experience, I first notice, okay, I'm afraid. And then I slow it down even more, and I see all of these things, these scenarios popping up. Oh, you're going to have your tooth extracted. Oh, then you're going to look ugly. Oh, then you're going to, all these things coming up. Then slow it down even more. Then notice, wow, that was just a superficial layer of, oh, but you're going to, tooth extracted, look ugly, whatever, all that superficial. Underneath that is all of this other stuff, all these beliefs, all these memories of why I'm not enough, why I deserve pain, humiliation, shame, why I'm unlovable, why it can never get better, why life isn't good. All this stuff, all packed up in here. So that faith, to me, is so important, because then it allows me to just be witness to all of it. Because if I don't have sufficient faith, then what happens is I'm just reacting. Just do something, anything. And then what am I doing? I'm just perpetuating it. So that faith allows me to slow it down and to be witness to what's happening. And like I said, everything in life, I'm absolutely certain of this, everything is conspiring for this revelation. So if we just pay attention, we can see that everything is offering us this, every experience that we have. All we have to do is just receive it. So something comes along, and I know, it seems crazy what I'm about to say, but it's true. Something comes along in your life, a phone call, an email, a sign you see, an arrangement of something that you happen to notice, anything that gets your attention, anything that you are attracted to, it is offering you, it is conspiring to offer you this revelation. And you don't know how. You have no idea how, because if you, this is the thing, is if I had the ability, so there's an expression, to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You might know this expression, okay? Now, in recent times, this is, at least in American politics, this is a thing you're supposed to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This is a, like just work harder, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And people have failed to recognize the irony of that, because you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not possible. It can't be done. It's not a possibility. You don't have the leverage. You're in your boots. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So we think as this conditioned self, okay, so the conditioned reactive mind is, if it can't pull itself up by its bootstraps, that's like I was saying earlier, it's just reaction. It's just reaction. That's all it can do. But there is a divine intervention that is occurring every moment. Everything that's happening is divine intervention. And we can participate consciously in that intervention simply by being present. So first and foremost, we can recognize that, as I said to start, because there's a couple of things going on, right? We can recognize in an instant that we are already free. It's not hard. We can recognize that. I think hopefully we all had a glimpse of that at the beginning of this. So then there's this traditional path. This is a funny thing about like Nisargadatta. Okay, so people say Nisargadatta, most perfect, pure, non-dual enlightenment, whatever. But Nisargadatta said his teacher told him to just keep his attention with I am, or whatever he said. I don't remember exactly. Okay. And he believed his teacher, and he did that for 3 to 5 years. I don't even remember. Okay. So people want to say in the Western world, they want to think, well, I read I am that, and so now I know everything, and it's just going to happen. It's not what Nisargadatta said. Nisargadatta said that his teacher told him to keep his attention with I, and he did that for a long time, basically ceaselessly. And then this insight arose, then this revelation. So people have a weird distortion, and they're rejecting anything that to them seems at all progressive or at all anything, and they hold up Nisargadatta as the shining example of what's non-progressive. Please, let's give that up. It's not true. So everything. So we have. Okay, where was I going with that? Is we have options available to us. Okay, we can take the renunciate approach. Go to a mountain, find a cave, just sit in the cave. Don't move. That's one option, but that's not what here we are. We're using the internet, so that's not happening for us. So then the other possibility that seems really obvious for those of us who are living in this world is we can see what is essentially the same. What is the renunciate doing? The renunciate is just being witness to their own experience, to their own conditioning arising, and seeing what's what. And if the renunciate is sitting in the cave, so like Ramana, okay, Ramana, the story goes, I don't know because I'm not him, but the story goes is I think it was his father died. I think, is that right? No, not his father died. Somebody died, and then he wanted to know about death, and so he imagined himself dead, and then he went and sat in the catacombs of some place for some amount of time, and insects were eating him until some people found him and dragged him out and built an ashram for him. But the story goes, he was content to just sit there while the insects were eating him. So probably, in the probably sitting there having insects eating one's body provokes an awful lot of conditioned reactivity. I mean, just imagine you've got an itch, okay? Have you ever tried to meditate, then you get an itch? Then your mind's going to town. Well, am I going to scratch the itch? Is that the right thing to do? No, not going to scratch the itch because I'm meditating. Ooh, but the itch is really itchy. But I'm not going to do it because I'm meditating. So it's provoking all of this so that we can see it. So I imagine Ramana sitting in these catacombs having insects eat his body probably provokes some conditioning. And they talk about burning karmas. So seems like a way to burn karma. So you could go sit in a catacomb and let insects eat your body and refuse to do anything about it, and you'll be burning karma. And I'm saying we don't need to do that because we're not doing that. And our life is conspiring to give us this revelation because everything that's happening is what? It's our karma. You see, it's like everything that's happening. How did this come about? Why am I experiencing this? When I'm witness to it, when I slow it down, it's very, very clear. What is this? Initially, I'm thinking, oh, it's some pain. What am I going to do about that? Do something about it. Hopefully it will go away. And then it doesn't go away. Ratchets up a little bit. So then, blessedly, because I have a level of faith which has been afforded to me by life conspiring to bring me Sarno, to bring me Feldenkrais, to bring me Ramana, to bring me Nisargadatta, to bring me all of these things, to bring me kidney stones, to bring me all of these experiences, all of this knowledge, all of this that then allows me to have adequate faith to be present to the experience so that it can unpack and I can be witness to it. And what am I seeing? What is this? Oh, it's all my karma. It's all that conditioning. It's all you're not good enough. Life isn't good. Life isn't safe. You're not going to be okay. It's all scary. That's what it is. It's all of that. And it's all of the habit of reacting to that, trying to sweep it under the rug, which causes it to grow and grow and grow and grow until finally here it is. So everything that happens in life, who does it happen to? I mean, who's experiencing this? You are. So all of this, who is, so you're witness to your own karma, let's say. What's happening? You just witness to your own karma. And what I've found is that as long as I imagine myself to be this thing, this separate thing that needs to protect itself against all of this, then what happens is I add more reactivity on reactivity on reactivity on reactivity, grows and grows and grows, until blessedly something happens where there's this perfect moment that happens, and it's such a blessed thing, although we usually don't think so, but such a blessed thing when the faith and the intensity are really close. Because as I was saying, if the intensity way overshoots faith, it's going to be hard. Possible maybe, but hard. If the intensity is way down here and the faith is way up here, yeah, whatever, who cares? I'll just take an aspirin. Or whatever, right? It's not, it might not be, right? It's not necessarily physical pain. It could be emotional pain where, you know, somebody rejects us, but we say, oh yeah, whatever, I didn't like them anyway. Or yeah, whatever, I don't care about their opinion, they're stupid. Everybody else loves me. But when we get to the point where it's like we feel really rejected, really alone, really humiliated, really whatever, and our faith is just enough to be matching that, what a gift, because then we've got nowhere else to go. We're not going to fix that problem. We're not going to avoid that problem. It's right here. And we have the, we'll say, resources to be able to meet it with presence, to be witness to the, we'll say, burning of karma. So what happens if I'm, so all this programming is here. It's in, we'll say it's in the nervous system, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say it's in the nervous system. There are biological and physiological correlates for this conditioning. And as I've said before, there might be energetic correlates, spiritual correlates, etheric correlates, whatever. I don't know. I don't see those things. Somebody who sees those things, maybe they could say so. But I can say, I think there's biologic and physiological correlates for this conditioning in the nervous system, in the organism. I think that's pretty true. And I think that we can find evidence using microscopes and stuff like that to see that this is so. And what happens, you know, so just in the simplest terms, there's this, you know, network of neurons, and these pathways get strengthened and formed. So my conditioning is there in these pathways. So what happens is then in this moment where the intensity is high and my faith is just high enough to be able to be present to it, then what's happening is I'm seeing now that what this is conditioning. So to me, that's very powerful, because when I can see that what this is conditioning, then it's in a sense, it's burning up. When I say burning up, what do I mean? So does the energy go away? No, but that particular form burns. And I don't have the research papers to demonstrate support for this, but I am 100% sure that this actually transforms something in the body, that there's a dissolving of those pathways. And then what we're left with is just clear seeing. So what's actually happening? If I'm just seeing that everything that I think is happening is just this conditioning, and being witness to that conditioning, it burns up, then what do I start to see? And what I start to see is, well, at the very least, I'll say possibility. See possibility. So previously, there was just a path, and that was the only way, because it's like I had blinders on. That was the only way. This sensation means this thing, and that's just how it is. But as I'm witness to it and it burns up, then all of a sudden those blinders are off. And now what do I see? I see possibility. I see potential. So the other thing I want to say about specific physical pain is that physical pain is a product of the brain. This is why medical hypnosis can work, like hypnosis, anesthesia, anesthetic hypnosis. That's why it can work, is pain is generated by the brain. It's also why Sarno could say so confidently that the MRIs that people had of herniated discs and whatever is not that those are not proof of pain, that there's nothing on the MRI that is proof of pain, because he also knew that there have been studies of thousands of people who have no pain, and because it took people a long time to figure out, oh, we've only ever been so somebody comes in and they say, oh, I'm in so much pain. They say, well, we'll do an MRI, and then they look at the MRI and they say, oh my God, that's why. Look at that. You got that herniated disc. That's why you're in pain. It took them a long time before they realized, well, actually, maybe we should do MRIs of people who don't have pain, rather than just assuming that somebody comes in complaining of pain and we do an MRI and we see something on the MRI and that's the reason for their pain. Let's do some MRIs of people who don't have pain. So then they've done studies, thousands of people who don't have pain. Oh, okay, better than 70% of people who don't have pain, better than 70% have herniated discs and things of that sort. So their MRIs are not predictors. That's why Sarno could say with such confidence that so what? Your MRI doesn't mean anything. He wasn't saying, like I said, he didn't tell everybody that they had TMS, but he wasn't going to just be how do I say this? He wasn't just going to go along with the dogma that says, oh, this picture means this person has pain, because he knew that's not true. This picture does not mean that. because more than 70% of people who have that same picture don't have pain. So the picture does not mean that a person has pain. And it's really, so we can see this about ourselves too, that we have pictures. This is really interesting. We have pictures in our own mind that are the proof that we have of our pain. There's pictures in our minds that are proof of our pain. So we can see those pictures. So you slow it down enough and you start to see the pictures. The pictures arise. Pictures of that thing that happened, when that person said that thing, when you did that thing, the way you felt, what you secretly know about yourself. That's the proof that you have of your pain. And if we're witness to those things without reacting to them, because if you're observant, you'll notice something. So when these pictures come up, by pictures I mean memories, thoughts, beliefs. So they arise. And if you're really observant, you'll notice that you flinch. You don't want to just be witness to it. Actually, you do want to be witness to it, but you don't yet know that. You flinch. But what happens if you don't flinch? What happens if you're just witness? And I'm telling you, it's very powerful. So and the great news is you don't even have to wait until you're in great pain. You can choose to do this. So you choose to do it. You can choose to do it. All you do, just anything that is painful for you, any memory, any thought, you can just close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but it's a little easier. And just let yourself see it. You don't have to have perfect visualization skills or anything. Just let yourself see it and notice the tendency to flinch, to look away, to try and think it away. But what if you just are soft and open and just welcome it and see it? What if you just allow yourself to be totally open? Your entire face open. I don't mean you have to have your eyes open, but just soft, inviting. What if your heart is open? What if you just allow yourself to breathe, not forcefully, but just in a relaxed way, and just see it? And I promise you, what you will find is that the power that thing seemed to have over you, because it seems like anytime that thing would arise, it forced you to flinch. It forced you to go run for the aspirin. It forced you to do something. That's what you thought. But you will find, if you're just witness to it in this way, just in this open way, it has no power over you. And there's a tremendous power that's your power that has been locked up in that, bound up in it. And it becomes integrated again. And it grows your faith. And that to me, it's such a powerful thing, because that faith, at first it can seem almost like it's not real. Like it seems, what is faith? But the more it grows, the more real it becomes, because it is real. It's as real as anything else. And it comes from experience, from recognition, because it's only just a matter of degree. If you can recognize something, so if there's a memory that's been painful for you, that you've flinched, chronically flinched when recalling it, tried to avoid it, tried not to think of it, not to be reminded of it, and you can just be witness to it, unflinchingly, open, in this very vulnerable way. But this vulnerability is very powerful because it's open. And you just are witness to it. And you have this experience of recognizing what's actually here. And you, in a sense, reclaim that power in this very gentle way, just allowing it to just come back into you, instead of making all that effort trying to keep it separate. Then such a simple thing, but you have this experience once and your faith grows, because now you know it's real. You know for sure that you can be present to any memory. You do it again, your faith grows a little bit more. You do it again, faith grows a little more. You do it again, faith grows a little more. So then, just bit by bit, then you start to apply it to other things. Oh, well, Joey said this is true of physical pain. Okay, well, rather than waiting for really intense pain, I'll try it out with little pain. So I'll just look, I'll just be witness to it. Am I afraid? Just be open to that fear. Be open to what is underneath that fear. Sometimes it's rage. Sometimes it's terror. Sometimes it's grief. And then all of these beliefs and memories, all this karma. And now you know you have this capacity because you've got the faith, because you've done it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 100 times. You know. However terrifying this seems to be, however monstrous it seems to be, I know what it really is, so I can just be witness to it. And then what I'm saying is that everything that happens in life, as I said, is conspiring for that revelation. So it conspires in a variety of ways. Sometimes it conspires by bringing knowledge. So it brings you a book, it brings you a video, it brings you a person saying something. Sometimes it conspires by bringing you a sign. Now, you know, the mind can go a lot of places with that, but sometimes you don't need to think about it. You just know. You're not making it up. You just know. There's a sign that it just is like confirming for you. just confirming. It's nothing more than that. It's just that, like, it's just like, hey, yeah, life's good. That's all. It's just a little confirmation. Yeah, life is supporting you. It's just a little confirmation, a sign that for you, it's just clear. It's beyond doubt, really. And then sometimes life conspires by bringing you these rich opportunities where there's stuff that, you pray, I want, like, you have chronic pain. Okay, you pray, I want to be free of this chronic pain. And then life says, hallelujah. So life brings you perfect opportunity to discover your freedom. And that's where, again, the faith is so valuable, because if we don't have adequate faith, then we say, oh, this is not good at all. This is horrible. But if our faith is adequate, then we recognize it. There's still a big part of us, this conditioned reactivity that says, get me the hell out of here. But there's something in us that recognizes life is good. Life is constantly confirming that it is confirming and affirming that goodness. It gives me these signs. It brings me the knowledge. It gives me the littler experiences so that I can know. So then when we say, I'm done struggling with this. I want to be free of this. Then the floodgates open. And we're given the exact perfect situation, the exact perfect circumstances, the exact perfect everything, so that we can discover that. And we can say yes to that, even though there's some part of us that say no. But there's some part of us that says, I know. I've had the signs. I know that life is good. And then we don't have to try and get rid of, because the old way was, okay, I've got all these negative thoughts. Ooh, I got to just affirm them away. No. We affirm what we know is true. Life is affirming that already. But we don't affirm to try and get rid of our conditioning. We affirm to reveal our conditioning so that we can be witness to it. Because that conditioning has all of our power locked up. And we want that power to be freed up to grow our faith so that we can say yes. Another thing I'll say is that Sarno, I think so there was it's the wrong term, because an epidemic would have to be contagious, but I'll use the term incorrectly anyway. There was, at one time in the United States, at least, an epidemic of back pain. Like, everybody had back pain. And Sarno saw this and he said, wait a second. Why on earth would that be? all of a sudden, everybody's got back pain. And he started to see, actually, these fads come and go. You got, for 10 years, everybody's got back pain. Then for 10 years, everybody's got repetitive stress injury. And then for 10 years, everybody's got whatever. So he saw what was going on was that people, especially with the back pain, because he just saw a lot of people with back pain. He saw people were actually, the overwhelming majority of those people were enraged. Imagine you live in New York City and you're working at, because he's in New York. You're living in New York City and you're working at some job, slaving away that you hate, and answering to some boss whose rules you think are just stupid, but your income depends upon you just saying yes sir. And here's a perfect recipe for back pain. You're enraged. So people think they have to solve that, but no, actually you don't have to solve it. The fascinating thing was, all people had to do, this is the amazing thing, is how did he help people? He helped people with knowledge. He said, look, you come in, we'll do the office visit. I'll look at all your paperwork. I'll look at everything, see if there's anything that indicates any kind of real problem. If there's no real problem, then I'll give you a diagnosis. Your diagnosis is TMS. I'm going to give you some information here. If that doesn't cure you on the spot, then you come to some lectures. I have a lecture every week, and you'll be cured, because most people are cured. That's all you got to do is just come to the lecture. And people don't have, so, we think, oh, I've got to change my life. I've got to change my life, so then I'll be okay. I'm enraged by my job, then I've got to quit the job. This is the kind of thing internet marketers will tell you, right? You can pay $997, take a course on how you're going to change your life. You're going to quit your job. You're going to become a podcaster and make millions of dollars, and then you'll be happy. And that actually is not true. We don't have to change our lives. Our lives are a reflection. Our outer lives are a reflection of our inner lives. And if the job needs to change, the job will change on its own. Who cares? Because you could spend $997 and quit your job and become a podcaster. And guess what? You might be enraged still. The enraged podcaster with back pain. So we don't need to rearrange everything on the outside. That's the good news. Is all we have to do is just be witness. Because that was the cure, is just for 80% of people, they go to the lecture, it clicks for them that, oh yeah, I'm enraged. I don't have back pain, I'm enraged. And that was it. Never had back pain again. So it's just to see it. Because acute pain serves a purpose. Chronic pain serves a purpose too. Chronic pain serves a purpose to alert us to the fact that we're not looking. But beyond that, it doesn't serve a purpose. Our brains create that. Our brains create that. Our brains create that because life is conspiring for this revelation and for the flow of life. That's the other thing. Life is flowing. You know, if you try to stop the air in your body, that wouldn't be good. Try to stop the blood in your body, that wouldn't be good. Try to stop the lymph, no good. Try to stop your digestive system, that's no good. Life is flow, so our feelings are flowing. We can just, our thoughts are flowing. It's all flowing, so we can just be witness to it. That's all I got. Anybody want to share anything or ask anything? You don't have to, but if you do, you're welcome to.
I gotta go, Joey. Thanks for today.
Yeah, thank you.
Joey, we're the lucky ones that know that freedom is available by looking, by that direct inquiry. But you know, how about the millions of people that don't know this? How is life conspiring to help them?
Yeah, well, it's a great, actually, I love that question. It's a great question because it reveals something. You know, I struggled with that for a long time until it became clear to me that that's not different from anything else that we're talking about. So that's what's actually going on. You know, it's my, that's, if I slow it down, I can see what's actually going on is there's something there that I'm not wanting to see. And it's a projection that I'm projecting onto them, but it's actually something of myself that I don't want to see. That desire to save other people.
Yeah.
It's that I won't spoil it for you.
Okay.
You can look for yourself and see it.
Okay.
But you can just take a look and see that desire to save other people and what you're projecting onto them and how you don't want to see that in your own, in yourself. Because they're free. I'm the one who's trying to imprison them.
Thank you. Yeah. It's back to direct inquiry. Right? Actually looking.
And I agree with you that we are the lucky ones. We are very, very lucky. I'm not drawing a comparison to others and saying they're unlucky, but I agree wholeheartedly that we are very lucky. Because for us, we don't even, really, ultimately, I have to admit that I'm completely selfish. If I perceive that you are suffering and I want to help you, I only want to help you because me perceiving that you are suffering is me suffering. I'm wanting to help myself. I'm wanting to help myself because I'm suffering by perceiving that you're suffering. This is why I know that you have familiarity with the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
And while I am not necessarily an advocate of A Course in Miracles, I just don't know enough about it to really advocate for it. But I do have at one point read enough of it to have some familiarity with it, and I believe that is a little bit dense. The material is dense, but I believe that it states something along the lines of, it's like everything's already perfect. The miracles are already happening. It's only whether or not I'm seeing it. And so the miracle worker isn't really working miracles for anybody else. The miracle worker is just getting clear on the fact that miracles are already taking place. So if I perceive that you're suffering, then I have to get clear for myself, because I can't save you. I have to get clear for myself on how it is that I'm obscuring the miracle. How is it that I'm not seeing the miracle? What am I doing to distort the actuality of the miracle? Because the miracle is primary. That's what's actually happening. The miracle is real. That's actually not that hard to see, because this is happening. It's a miracle. I don't know what else we would call it. But then I project, oh, you're suffering. And so I'm obscuring the miracle, but it's because I'm creating artificial distance and separation, because I'm saying you're suffering over there. But what's actually happening? Why am I interested? Why do I care? It's because I'm projecting my own suffering. And what is my suffering? My suffering is just me not seeing what's actually here. When I slow it down and see what's actually here, I recognize the perfection of this. Now, if somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I'm suffering, then I can certainly share knowledge, point to things. But really, I think more essential than that is always just to recognize, just to be clear for myself. Because if you were to come to me and say, oh, I'm suffering, I need help. And I think, oh yeah, you're really suffering. I got to help you. I have to save you. Or I have to help you save yourself. I'm not actually able to help you. And right, I can't really help you if I don't have that clarity first. The clarity that what's actually true. What's actually true. I have to recognize the reality of you are not suffering. You are perfect. You may perceive yourself to be suffering, but I have to be clear about what is real. Because it's only if I am clear on that there's any possibility of real transformation. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be misleading you. So I think it's actually a huge responsibility for anybody who puts themselves in a position of wanting to be of service to others. Then that person, or at least for me, I take that responsibility very seriously, that I have to be clear for myself. I have to know for sure that you are already perfect, whole, and complete. I have to know for sure that you are not suffering. It's only when I'm clear on that that there's any possibility of really being in service. Otherwise, I'm just misleading.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. See you next week. Thank you very much for being here. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.